Thanks for staying with us. So there's a really hot topic that we will just start it today. We can't finish it. It's one of those topics that has part 1, part 2, part 3. But it was this lady, Eva, on social media was saying African parents need to normalize talking about sex with their parents or with their children, you know, especially because our culture doesn't discourages us from talking about sex to children. And I think that that's something we've all experienced growing up. And it's a conversation because we've all talked about at what level, at what stage you start introducing this topic to kids. You know, and we've been taught already at the age of this, age of that, you know, how the various levels you can do with kids. But there are other parts of this conversation, which is even in families, in married couples, how much of yourself can you express to your spouse? I was telling the ladies during the break that in my own church, you know, in my own church, it's it's out there in the national, from Daddy Jew has said, it is illegal, oral sex is illegal. It's wrong, it's unhygienic, it's immoral, it's wrong. That's for my own church. I'm not talking about your own churches. Then my own pastor even reiterated it again about 2 weeks ago. Very recently, I was saying this to your pastor, Eva Alodiah. Very clearly, I said it out.
You are now saying?
Said it, oral sex is unhygienic, it's a sin, it's wrong. And when I was talking, everyone was just cringing. I was just looking like, I don't look at all the women around me.
They are holy.
They're all like this. Me, I'm just, they look at them. Anyways, as I said, it's a topic we can only start today. We can't finish it. We only have about 10 minutes. But what are your thoughts? Let's start with the parents one we've talked about over and over again. Yeah. What are your thoughts in this expressing? Let me start with Mariam. Okay. How much can you express yourself? Or should you express yourself?
Okay, so I feel that when they're really young, the conversation is easier because you're teaching them how to protect themselves, how, you know, this is your special part, no one else is allowed to touch it. But they will grow older, and I've been thinking about it. When she becomes a teenager, what kind of conversation are we going to start having? We have to have the conversation on safe sex. We have to have the conversation on abstinence. You cannot talk about abstinence without talking about safe sex. You cannot talk about safe sex without talking about oral sex and all types of sex. So I'm like, at what age would I have that conversation? But I'm happy that she and I have started this conversation, and I feel that it would open the door and make it easier for her to come to me, hopefully. Because, you know, as a parent, you think you have done your best, but you just never know the outcome. But hoping that these conversations that we're having right now about just her understanding her body. There's one conversation that she asked me, she came and she asked me that she just realized, this was a couple of years back, that she realized that her place is different from her brother's place. Why is that? You know, and that opened the door for conversation. I had to explain to her, this is the reason, because you grow up into a woman and the woman will have a baby and things like that. And other conversations have come from there. But the truth is that I don't know. I'm anxious about the conversation on sex. To have it or not to have it.
Especially as a teenager.
Sex, yes.
As a growing up teenager.
And it's just the reality. I would not lie to myself or deceive myself that, oh, I don't need to have this conversation with her. Oh, my particular daughter is Virgin Mary. She will never have those feelings. As long as I have a healthy child, I know this is part of her growing up.
Let me come to Mama Boys. You don't have to deal with this thing.
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. I think that, so what I've been doing so far, because I'm not one to have that conversation one-on-one, is when we are watching movies, and even though I only watch movies that are age appropriate with them. So we're watching a movie and there was a kissing scene. And I was like, no, I'm not watching a kissing scene. I'm not going to watch a kissing scene. I'm closing my eyes. I said, you need to close your eyes. They're adults. Adults will do this. It's a normal thing. So when you become an adult, you will kiss, you will marry, you will have a wife you love, you will have children together. He said, no, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not even thinking about that right now. I said, yeah, but you will. You're going to grow up in a few years. That's the twins. I'm like, yeah, 10. In a few years' time, you would fall in love with someone and you really love the person and you want to marry the person. So I want to not have that casual conversation. So we haven't seen anything, and many men get introduced into discussing sexuality through their friends, through pornography. And I need to be ahead of that curve and let them understand that this is what you mustn't do. You would be told to watch it, you will be asked to watch it, but you shouldn't watch it because it would inform you of a wrong opinion on what sexuality and sex should be about.
One thing I like also to address is when a teenager, you know, who comes to parents and says, Mom, is oral sex right? Especially because our pastor says it's wrong, it's a sin, it's unhygienic, it's not biblical, and we have our friends, we have people talking about it. It's almost as if it's the preamble, it's the natural preamble to the real thing. And you're thinking to yourself, so she's a young person and maybe she wants to become sexually active. So you're a parent who's liberal,
just curious,
and she's just curious. Like I want to do it right. I want to do it right. So, Mom, should I go ahead or would I say, Auntie, hell no?
Alaja,
you have the floor. You have the floor.
You go to hellfire.
Go to hellfire. So that's what I would do. Go to hellfire. But then
what age would that be? Hellfire conversation.
Okay, the hellfire conversation started early for me. My dad had sex education talk with me at 12. Not my mom. My mom told me I would die.
Like, you need an award.
Hellfire.
Your dad needs an award.
I'll get Bele, and if I get Bele, I can be sure she'll become the monster of my life. So she gave me that 1 year, and I did not want to monster in my life, so she put fear. But my dad told me, one-on-one, that anything you do from this stage going forward, you bear the consequences, and it will be huge. And you might not have the support of both parents, because we just might not agree. So treat it with the gravity that it carries, and so I started being careful. But my mom did something. She knew she couldn't have that conversation fully well. So she pushed us to a mentor she knew could do it. So as people did, they talk. And growing up is a simple, I will tell my daughter the same thing, be a door and guard your door. Open it only when you're ready. And know this is the best time to open it. I'm hoping that, because when she sits to talk with me, there's no judgment. So I just keep talking. I keep talking. So she knows the level I know. And then sometimes she'll be like, hey, this girl scares me. Yeah. And it's important that you can be like that to your child. I'm hoping I'm like that to my child.
There's an error parents make. Because when you create this fear about the act itself, what you've done is given the child an option to go with the preamble. So in her mind, I'd rather do the preamble because you've totally demonized the act itself. So I remember that picture I'll never forget when I was 13. I mean, I've told this story a million times. When I was 13 and I saw my period, I would never forget April 1st. It was after my stepmother's birthday because I was April Fool. So I came home that day and I saw it. I saw my mother called my auntie, called everybody. And when they were talking to her, I came, Rel, the man is like this. Don't let it, I would never forget her hand. It's like this.
It was trauma.
Don't let it come to you. And as a child, I'm like, oh my God. So that trauma, so the act itself was demonized. Now, for many other people, so you feel, as long as I'm just doing this one now, it's okay.
You're looking at it bad.
Let me go.
All of the safe parts that, the scare,
made you wait till you were married.
Yeah.
So, exactly. But let's
some people don't.
But some people don't. Some people just opposite reaction. Let me address the issue of what you said and the church.
That's a whole topic.
Wearing trouser.
Our parents.
Wearing trouser was a sin in my church growing up. So I didn't wear trouser, and I just felt it was like, how can you wear trouser? Wearing earrings was a sin. You cannot wear earrings. Then I was going to do youth camp at Deeper Life Church. Watching TV, that's horrible. So we must realize that trends change. Now we have pastors with tattoos all over their body. Tattooing, that's terrible.
Has said that was a doctrine then.
Yes, tattooing is terrible. A man having dreadlock and weaving their hair, sinner, you are going to hell. Life and times will continue to change. Values are most important.
The Word of God doesn't change.
What the Word of God tells us, when they created all the laws, what did He bring it down to? Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your Lord, your God, with all your heart, body, and soul. So for me, at the end of the day, it is that we create rules in different areas that are sort of based on our limiting understanding per time. So as a parent, I don't know much, but I would tell you, we were watching a TV show, and there were travel bloggers and all of that. And I said, there are many career options in the future. I don't know what the career option you would choose to go with. But just understand that whatever you do, you must add value. You must be a positive influence in your environment. So that for me, the underlying value is what we should focus on.
Okay, yeah.
Last comment.
Yeah, so going back to, parents talking to our children, sometimes when I cast my mind back, I would say, you would see that traditionally, the way we grew up, children and mothers sort of interacted. Like we said, when they go into the river to have a bath, women and children will have a bath. And you get to see life example of how you should wash yourself. But religion, whether we like it or not, and Western education has taught us, you know, you need to separate yourself. And so who is now the example that the child is watching to see? And then when we take out that physical side, we're also not talking to them. So if we've taken the side of, you cannot see me while I am doing this, while you're growing up, then we have to speak to them. And we have to speak to them honestly. The fear does not work. Because when you just mentioned that example, I remember, I mean, we were all young ones. We had friends once.
And they'll be like, it's a lie.
And we know, and we just know some of the steps that other children took because of the fear that was instilled in them. There were some of them that got pregnant, didn't say anything to their parents,
and went to do abortion and lost their lives.
As I said, we can only start this conversation. It's such a heavy conversation that we will continue. Hopefully the producer will let us take it soon. But that's all we can take on the show. We've wrapped up today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.